welcome to Reco12. I'm Justin B, and this is the Afro-Euro, and as you'll notice, I'm not usually the host of the Afro-Euro Reco12, and I won't be today either. But I just wanted to give everybody a quick heads up. Lisa S., who is our new host and doing an amazing job, you'll hear very quickly that she has lost her voice in this episode, but she muscles through and proves to us that God can do through her that which she cannot do herself. So let's listen up. Here we go.
Welcome to Reco12. My name is Lisa S. and I suffer the disease of alcoholism. First, we take a moment's silence for the addict who still suffers inside and outside of these Zoom rooms. Followed by the we version of the set aside prayer. Dear God, please set aside everything we think we know about ourselves, about our disease, about the big book, the 12 steps, the program, the fellowship, the people in our fellowship, and all spiritual terms, especially you, God, so that we may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help us see the truth. We surrender this hour to you. Your will, not ours, be done. Amen. I'm very blessed to be the host of this meeting, even with half a voice this morning, and I do apologise. And this podcast that is the Afro-Euro Timezones. I hope that you would join us and draw strength and hope from these podcasts that we host Fridays at 8 a.m. UK time and 8 a.m. European and South African time. Reco12 is an organisation with the mission of learning and sharing the similarities of addiction of all kinds and gaining and sharing tools and hope from others who are walking a similar path. We come together from all places, faiths and backgrounds to gain tools and hope from others. Speakers from our past meetings have represented many fellowships, addictions and afflictions. We look forward to continuing to add to the diversity of speakers and backgrounds, and I hope you will reach out if you think your experience, strength and hope will benefit this special community. Today's speaker is Paul, who will be speaking for around 30 minutes. We'll get his share, followed by question and answers. If you have any questions, please pop in your questions in the chat during the share or after. And you can do that anonymously, guys, if you want to. We continue to grow with our resources for the addict and the loved ones of those addicted. We have all recorded shares and other super excited projects. Another one, which is the Big Book Roundtable discussion, where we dive into the first 164 pages of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous with a few recovered individuals who are past speakers in Reco12 and who really try to know and live the Big Book. Edition 7, Reco12 is a self-supporting service and we appreciate your help in keeping us working on step 12 in this manner. We gratefully accept one-time contributions through PayPal, Venmo and Wise through the links in the chat. We also offer a monthly subscription program called Reco12 Spearheads. To join in and help support these cool projects, please consider donating at www.reco12.com/support or click on the link in the chat of the live meeting. We look forward each meeting to growing deeper in effectiveness and understanding as we learn with and from our special speakers. Today, I'm so blessed to have Paul here this morning. I really appreciate your time, Paul, and especially you stood in at last minute. I'm so grateful, love. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Paul. I can't wait to listen to you. Over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa, for asking me to be of service. My name's Paul Meacham. Most definitely a cocaine addict. Most of all, I understand that I suffer from the disease of alcoholism. I want to thank you, Lisa, for showing up and being of service, even though you're not very well today. And I want to say good morning, good afternoon to anybody else that's joining us. You know, there's one thing I understand about my illness is that it tries to tell me to do things, or I don't want to do things, to try and separate me from you guys. I'm a very grateful member of Cocaine Anonymous as well, and Alcoholics Anonymous. See, there's a few things I've come to understand since I've been around the rooms, and I've been around here about 3 years. I came here because the truth of the matter is, right, when I came to the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous, I wasn't looking for happiness. I wasn't looking for peace. I wasn't looking for anything other than just to stop using drink and drugs. And the truth of the matter is, if I could do that by myself, I'm damn sure I wouldn't be sat here on a Friday morning at 8 a.m. I wouldn't even piss on the best days in Cocaine Anonymous if I could have just stopped drinking and using drugs at that time in my life. I don't ever remember, right? See, I come in here and I hear people talking about how they felt when they was kids. You know what? I ain't going to bullshit her. I don't remember how I felt when I was a kid. I don't remember whether I had this malady as a kid. I don't remember anything really about when I was a kid. But what I do know is that the first time I put a substance inside of my body, no matter what it is, see, because I believe that alcoholism isn't substance specific. What I understand today is that I will use anything to fix the way that I feel, because I meet the description. I meet the description of a real alcoholic. I have an obsession of the mind. I have an allergy of the body, and today I understand that spiritual malady more than looking back on my life. I don't even think I was maladjusted to life when I was a kid. I did normal things, didn't obsess over nothing. I just think I had a normal childhood. But what I understand today is that I suffer from an illness that's trying to kill me. I took my first substance at the age of about 13, and I spent 24 years out there running and gunning, burning my life to the ground, burning other people's lives to the ground, running over people like I just did not care. I had to portray this image, right? I was into drug dealing, used to grow cannabis, I was into organised crime, drive around in my nice cars, my ripped up vests, get out, and I believed I was untouchable. I've had £100,000 a year jobs. I've got a son that I didn't want. It became that when he was born, I loved from the moment I held him, but was just an inconvenience to my lifestyle and to the things that I wanted to do. I am self-centered and selfish to the core. I understand that that's my problem. Not drinking drugs, that was my solution to the problem. Because I today, even still today, when I am not connected to that power, I am more restless, more irritable, and more discontent than I can ever remember being as a kid. My big book tells me that when I become alcoholic, see, I don't believe I was born with it. I believe that I become an alcoholic. See, I understand today that the amount of times I got arrested, the hospitalizations because I'm from suicide attempts, See, I am the real deal, man. I take suicide attempts and I'm getting drink and drugs brought into the hospital. Because when I start, I cannot stop. I got raped at the age of 21. Doesn't make me an alcoholic. Doesn't make me an addict. Doesn't give me the disease of alcoholism. What makes me an alcoholic is I meet the description. And I need to have that third component, that phenomenon of craving, which the big book talks about, to meet the description of the alcoholic. I've got it. See, I've done geographicals. I've lived a good life, man. Me on my own self-will for 20 odd years. I didn't have a bad life. Holidays every year, nice clothes. But they're all external things today that I understand that I was trying to fix an internal thing. See, I believed I had this thought, this mentality that, in fact, if you'd have asked me at the age of 16 what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a big time drug dealer, right? That's the truth. But I never was, man. Because I'd start getting high on my own supply later. And when I start, I can't stop. I had all that. In fact, this disease of alcoholism, fuck it, I'm just going to say, I still like to sniff cocaine and I still like to drink alcohol. Right, that's the truth. That's the bottom line. But it affects me in a way that I burn my life to the ground. And the truth is, when it's affecting my mum, my dad, my little sister, my little boy even, who I haven't seen for 10 years, Paul on his own power does not care. He doesn't, flat out does not care. But when it starts affecting me, and alcoholism starts to affect me, that's a different ball game. That's when I have to take a look at myself and think, I don't like this. Now I need to do something about it. Bad relationships that I've burnt to the ground. I've took money off the women that I've been with, out of their cupboards to feed their kids in order to feed my addiction. I'm a narcissist. I'm arrogant. I'm self-righteous. This is me when I'm disconnected to the power. I'm manipulative. I'm a liar. I'm a thief. See, when I'm out there and I'm doing these things and I'm drinking and I'm using, I come to understand when I come in here, I'm killing the wrong self. Come to the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous for a treatment centre. It was what was it? I went into my first treatment centre, in fact, when about in 2022, I think it was 22nd of December 2022. And I've been in about 5 or 6 different treatment centres since. And the reason I went into that first treatment centre is one reason and one reason only. I wanted to get my ex-missus back. Telling me for a while, you're an alcoholic, you're a drug addict. See, I live in this delusion. I have a mind that tells me I'm not these things. I don't suffer from the disease of alcoholism. I'm not an addict. But I live my life going forward and I learn looking back on my life. I've been an addict for a long, long time. I was a daily user by the time I was 16. Probably before that, to tell you the truth. I have a mind that can't tell you the first Christmas that I had. But I can remember that first line that I had. I can remember that first beer that I had. I can remember that first crack pipe that I had. Dr. Silkworth says this: I have an obsession of the mind which condemns me to drink or use drugs, whatever it may be, and I have an allergy of the body which condemns me to die. Yet my mind won't tell me them things. And that obsession might look something like this: I ain't using today. I am not drinking today. And by the time lunchtime's come, I'm sat in a pub. I'm sat in a pub. I've got a bag of Charlie in my pocket, and I'm off and I'm on another room. The amount of places I've been banned from because I do not care. One of my mates died from this illness, right? And I passed my little boy to this is the sort of person I am. Passed my little boy to my mum. Said I'm off. Talk about selfish and self-centered. Even the love of my own son cannot save me from this illness that I suffer from. And the big book gives us 4 descriptions in the first in the forward to the first edition. You got 3 in the front of the book: the moderate drinker, the hard drinker, and the real alcoholic. And then you've got 1 in the back of the book. But in the original manuscript, there's a 5th description of the alcoholic. And I was in a meeting the other day, and I believe that my disease has progressed to a stage where I'm at least a stage 4. And I understand today that this is never going to get better. It's only ever going to progress alongside my recovery. So I come in here at the age of about, well, I'm now 36. I was about 32, 33 when I come here. And the truth is, I got kicked out of my first treatment centre for about 7 weeks. And I come out and I use the same day. But my alcoholic or my alcoholic mind, whatever you want to call it, didn't want to get honest with that about that. And I sat in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous for about 6 months, picking up dirty chips, speaking in meetings, sponsoring people. See, my pride and my ego is what gets in the way of me being honest. That had to be smashed to pieces, that did. One of my friends says that's have a sufficient enough ass whooping for me to want to come in and do this stuff. The truth is, I don't want to do it. I don't want to be doing this. But I have no choice. I have no option. If there was another option that worked for me, I'm damn sure I'd be out doing that instead of sat here. See, I've tried hypnotherapy. I've tried drugs counselling. I've tried all these different things, switching one drink to another, limiting all that sort of stuff. Doesn't work. Then I come into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. In fact, pass me any sort of drug and I ain't asking no questions what I'm taking. Straight down the hatch, up my nose, in a pipe, whatever it may be. But I come into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous and I look at them twice and someone, you're powerless. You're powerless. That doesn't mean I've got a little bit of power, that doesn't, Nikki. It means I have absolutely no power, no choice, no control when that obsession starts. I hear people in the room saying, pick up the phone to your sponsor, call someone else. I ain't that sort of drug addict. I ain't that sort of alcoholic. I am the real description. When that obsession's on, I'm gone. I'm gone. So I come in here for 6 months picking up dirty chips, and I end up back in another treatment centre. This time it was me that made that phone call. Because I seen what was happening in here. I seen people smiling, happy, living life, man, without taking substances. And the truth is, I wanted a bit of that. So I go off into another sober living. Where this time, in fact, when I come out my first treatment centre, I had a big book and I was sniffing lines of cocaine off that big book, knowing what people had told me, that this was going to be the solution to all of my problems. So I go into this other sober living house, and I go in there with my big book, and I was serious. I was serious, man. I took the bull by the horns, and I worked them 12 steps quickly. I worked them quickly from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am a student of that big book, and I am 100% a big book guy, man. And I have this belief that if it's not in that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's not the program that we're working here. It's somebody else's opinion, somebody else's ego, somebody else thinks they can improve on something that was written in 1936 or 37, whenever it was. Why fix something that isn't broken? That's my opinion, man. Told you, I'm arrogant. So I go into this sober living and work these 12 steps, and I was on fire with this stuff for about 13, 14 months, man. Until the ego starts to reconstruct. The ego starts to reconstruct very, very quickly, and I start to speak in all these meetings, and somebody that's been around here is saying to me, "Why are you speaking in all these meetings, Paul? You're signing your own death warrant." And I start to speak in all these meetings, and I start to think that I'm somebody around the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous. And the truth of the matter is, that's the delusion that I suffer from. Start to believe that there's only me carrying a message around here. Start to get all these the women following me around meetings and that, and that's the sort of guy I am, man. I love that shit. Feed my ego, feed it. You know what I mean? That I love that shit. But that's my disease. That's my disease that loves that stuff, because I'm getting that sense of ease and comfort from something external. Yeah, I come in here and I know that I need to get connected to a power. But because I suffer from alcoholic defiance disorder, it doesn't want to do it. Snap shut, bosh. Everything I do here, I do it not because I want to, but because it's life-saving to me, life-sustaining. I come in here and I'm speaking all these meetings, and I start to get a little bit. It tells us, as long as we're not cocky or words to that effect, I think the big book says. And then I get to a point where I start to beat people up with the big book. I like to say I ram one down people's throats and I whack someone around the head with it at the same time. Do you know what I mean? I just do it with one book. I'm giving you two. I had a guy tell me when I was there, in fact, he changed everything about my trajectory of my recovery, man. I started following this guy around, and he took me to all these big book meetings, and I started to study that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was practicing this stuff, but I still wanted to hold on to a few old ideas. And these old ideas started to pull me away from the power. And I make quick, fast friends here. I'm my best friend in the world here today. And you know what? I couldn't imagine doing this stuff without her. I really couldn't, man. And I started to get drawn away. And I start to stop practicing the 10th step, right? Now I have this understanding. I know exactly what I suffer from. In fact, this is going to sound arrogant. God's given me a gift, man. A gift. When I'm sat with people taking them through that big book, I can articulate that book and bring their life into that book and see how it's a book of mirrors, because that's all it is. I've had that many people cry when I've took them through that 3rd step. And I love that. I am passionate about that book, man. But I don't practice this 10th step because this ego of mine starts to reconstruct. And what happens is when I don't practice that 10th step, see, I clear a channel for God in step 4, for God to flow in and through me to let this power out. And when I don't continue to practice the 10th step, which I now believe is the most important step to keep the channel clear, I start to narrow that channel down. And when that channel gets blocked, I have no power. I block the power out that is life sustaining to me. And then what happens is, Kim, I don't look at step 6 and I don't look at step 7. So I start to become defective again. Because that's all I am. I'm defective by nature. And then when I'm not looking at step 6 and I'm not looking at step 7, I'm definitely not looking at step 3, and I start to tread on your toes, Lisa. And when I tread on your toes, you push back, and Paul thinks solution answer, cocaine answer, or crack answer, or women answer, or food, or anything, but not God. See, I block God out then. In fact, the progression of this disease, first treatments, and I never tried crack. I come out and I'm smoking crack. That's the progressive nature of this illness. And when I'm not practicing that 10th step, say, I disrespect the 1st step. And the 1st step tells me in the 12 and 12 is the only step I've got to get 100% right. And it's not because I don't know that I'm powerless or my life's unmanageable. It's that I am a real alcoholic. And when that obsession's on, I am going to drink and I am going to use no matter what. And about 18 months in, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. I'd become arrogant again. I'd become selfish. I'd started to womanize again. I'd started to run around the country doing all this different stuff. But I'd stopped seeking the power. See, it tells me in the 3 pertinent ideas, in God could and would if he was sought. Not God could and would, so I'm going to let him. I have to seek that power. Perfect and enlarge my spiritual life. Otherwise, I'm not going to overcome trials and tribulations, I think the book says, or something like that. See, I had this life, right, in that 13 months. Man, in the first 18 months of my recovery, I'd been to Akron, I'd been to the Gatehouse, I'd been to Winchester Cathedral. That's it, certain trials and low spots ahead. And it all looks good on paper. But my feet stopped matching my mouth. See, I can sit here and I can talk a good game. I can recite the big books, yeah. I can tell you exactly what you need to do, but I suffer from an illness which does not want me to do it. Man, I talk about this stuff all the time to my mate, right? I believe that there's people in these rooms that do not suffer from the same illness as what I suffer from, or that suffer from it, but they're not progressed to where my disease is. So I go back out. With this head full of knowledge, this understanding of how deep-rooted self is. See, if I don't get to the root of what's going on, the causes and conditions, all it's going to do is it's going to start manifesting in my head that you've trod on my toes, you've done this, you've done that. And I have to look at this stuff and I have to realise that 9 times out of 10, my troubles have all come from my own making. See, I'd sit in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous and I'd beat the fellowship up that keeps me alive. I would go into meetings, and if I knew something about you, what you'd been up to, I would spiritually beat you up with that big book. Because that's the sort of prick I am, Lisa. Yeah, God had given me this gift, this life that I'd never known, man. Not my old life back, because if you're here for your old life back, you've come to the wrong place, man. Let me tell you that. I was reborn, as the book tells us. And I had this best life that I'd ever known or I could have ever pictured. But I stopped seeking that power. Gives me a warning in step 10. The problem gets removed. In fact, I Googled the word automatically. Automatically, we recall from it. You know what the definition of automatically is? With very little or no human aid. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. And I have all these experiences with this power. 3 minutes already. Wow, that's gone quick, isn't it? I have all these experiences with this power, but my agnosticism just does not, just separates me, right? So I went back out and I smashed myself to pieces. I want to stick a rope around my neck, because what I've come to understand is that alcoholism needs treating, and it needs treating with one or two things: drink and drugs, 12 steps and God. It's as simple as that. Very lucky to have made it back, and I know it wasn't by my power. It wasn't my decision. Something happened in my life again. I got given that gift of desperation, and I make it back. See, this time around, it doesn't look the same to me. It's like cheating on your missus. The only way I could describe it is like cheating on your missus or your partner, and you can never look at them in the same eyes again. See, I don't particularly have that, what do you call it? That fire that I had when I was here last time. But I'm here. And I know that this is the only thing that's ever given me that time of sobriety from the age of 13. And the truth is, talked about it earlier, I wouldn't be here if this didn't work. I wouldn't be here if there was something else that was going to substitute this. See, I understand today that meetings, great. Human power. Fellowship's powerful. Insufficient to keep me clean and sober, Nikki.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Reco12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
I understand that if I don't do this, if I don't follow the program that's outlined in this big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, if I don't take regular inventory, if I don't pray and I don't meditate, and I don't help other addicts and other alcoholics, I couldn't even get my words out then, with the same illness that I suffer from, there's one or two solutions. Go on to the bitter end, blind out my intolerable situation, or I do this stuff. And the truth of the matter is, it was the fellowship that I went around beating up that kept me here. I never missed. I was sat behind my camera. If you are here and you've been drinking or using today and you sat behind your camera, welcome, man. If you're here and you're a few days in, welcome. I'm going to guarantee you this now. The 12 steps that are outlined in that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous will get you connected to a power. But if I stop doing the things that keep me well, that will take me back out there to the drink and the drugs and to that life that I don't want to live no more. I'm probably one of the most ungrateful people that I know. I don't say that I'm grateful. But when I sit back and I think about it, I am grateful. I am grateful that I've been given this second chance. I am grateful that I'm still alive. I am grateful that I've had another Christmas, even though I've been sat by myself. I am grateful to have got to do things that I wouldn't have done unless God had brought me here, because it wasn't me that brought me here. I leave it on this, right? This isn't the life that I wanted or I expected. So I'm selfish, me, I. But it's the life that I've been given. And as much as I might not want to be here sometimes, I wouldn't change having this life for all the money in the UK. I've met some of the most realist people that I've ever met that want nothing from me, Lisa. I met that girl that sat there looking out of a window. I got to have the best week of my life with her, and that's all thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous. What I'm going to say is that God is real, and CA or AA does work, but I have to do the legwork. I have to do that work to get connected to that power. So if you're new here, welcome to the greatest show on earth. Miracles happen here. And what I'll say is get a big book. Study the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, because it is a textbook. And I believe if you don't study it, you're going to be at the mercy of a donkey who has claimed to have studied that big book. Because I hear a lot of stuff in the rooms of AA and CA that doesn't align with that program. Therefore, I don't believe it is the program which is outlined in that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I promise you that you are going to have the best life that you could ever know. but it takes some work, man. This isn't for people who want it. It isn't for people who need it. It's for people who do the work. Right, my name's Paul Meacham. I am most definitely a cocaine addict that suffers from the disease of alcoholism. And on that note, Lisa, back to the studio.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul. Do you know what? I just love how you speak from the heart and you're so real. And, you know, I love that. The greatest show on earth. It's just brilliant. I love that. So now we're opening up for questions and answers. I'll try my best to. MJ's got a great question there, Paul. Can you read it and answer it for us, please?
Yeah, I can do that. I'm still Paul. I'm still a cocaine addict. In my experience, the question is, in my experience, is not working the program more about lack of action or lack of connection with God? The big book says you may find him now. Could you elaborate on how that connection or lack of it affects your willingness to do the work? We're going to have words later, me and you, MJ. In my experience, right, I don't actually believe there's anything to get round here. There's stuff to do. Providing I do that stuff, I'm going to see God. Whether I like to see God or not, I'm going to see how God's working in my life. And when I start to put this stuff down, right, I stop seeing where God's working in and through me. I stop seeing where God shows up. I stop seeing the things that God's done for me. My life starts to become unmanageable again, and I start to think that I'm the power again. When I'm in doing this deal, you'd be amazed, right? I get amazed by where I seen God working without even thinking about it, if that makes sense. Because I'm connected. As soon as I become disconnected, I start to run the show again. In fact, it's easy to stop a drug addict or an alcoholic drinking and using. Put them in a treatment centre, separate them for 30 days or whatever it is. You try and get one to stop playing God, is a different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
The key to this is action. I lose willingness. As soon as I start to miss a day here, miss a day there, I think I'll be all right. It'll be all right. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start again tomorrow. Consistency tells me I'm undisciplined. I am so undisciplined. It is unreal. And the book tells me I let God discipline me. Not my sponsor, not my grand sponsor, not somebody at the fellowship. Let God discipline me in the simple way that's outlined. But God isn't going to discipline me if I'm not doing the work. I get disciplined by all the mess and carnage that I'm creating on my own power. That's it, Lisa.
Thank you, Paul. And Jess, do you want to come in, love?
Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss Reco12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to Reco12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
Yes, I don't particularly have a question just yet, but I just wanted to thank you, Lisa, for pushing through, and Paul for your share. It's what I needed this morning, because you don't beat around the bush. You definitely tell it like it is, because this is a disease that is trying to kill us, or at least I know my disease trying to kill me every day. And, I think back on why I went to rehab, why I decided to let go, is because I had been made uncomfortable enough. And, I think that God makes you uncomfortable so you'll move. Because if I'm not uncomfortable, I wouldn't have moved. I would have just continued on with what I was doing because it was working fine for me in my mind. It didn't matter, like you said, it didn't matter who I was hurting in the process because I was selfish and self-centered. And I think the big book is definitely divinely written, in my opinion, because there's something in there for anyone seeking a different way of life. And not just the alcoholic or the cocaine addict or the sex addict or, just addicts. See, I think it's not so much that I'm a bad person trying to be good. It's that I'm a sick person trying to get well. And that's what this program teaches me, that I'm here to get well, and we're all here to end this together. And the fellowship is kind of the glue that helps me keep it together. But I guess I do have a question. How do you know, or have, when you're beaten up enough, when you've had the tenderizing of the buttocks enough, what in your heart of hearts tells you that this is it, or what told you? Because I know what told me. I was killing myself slowly, and when I came to that realization, and I do believe it was a power greater than myself that finally said and spoke to me and said, Jessica, you are killing yourself and you will die of a slow alcoholic death. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Jess. I'm still poor. I'm still a cocaine addict. Still suffer from alcoholism. It's been different for me on both occasions. See, it was crack that brought me to my knees. The time I went into my second detox center, and that did something to me. I could see how I was losing everything. There's something different about that crack than there is cocaine. It will take my soul. It took every physical possession that I had because I was taking it all to crack converters. And it just gave me that ass whooping so quickly. I was chasing that high that I wasn't getting. And I couldn't see another way out. And the only thing that I could do was God, I need some help, man. And I'll tell you exactly what happened. It's a quick story. My first real sponsor that I took any serious notice of, got a phone call out of the blue. And he said, I've heard you're in a bad place. And he said, ring this place, they'll get you in quick. And that's what happened. Look at God working in my life without me even wanting him to. And the time that I went out back in April, my life was still quite manageable, if I'm honest. It wasn't too bad. I was sniffing cocaine and I was drinking about a litre of whiskey a day and about an 8 for Charlie a day. And I believe that was manageable. Started to lose my job again. Started to lose friends that I'd made. And what actually separated me this time was I went away for a few days down to London. Because the truth is that I don't even know if I'd have been stopped by now. Something intervened each time, and it was not poor. I wasn't meant to go. I wasn't meant to have that phone call with that guy, my first sponsor. And if my memory's right, I don't believe that I was actually meant to be going down to London. It was a last minute thing. Is that right? Yeah. Thumbs up there. Yeah. So something happened, something intervened, and it wasn't my power. God. It's the only explanation. The only explanation. Working in my life when I'm blocking him out. That's it, man. Back to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Paul. Do you know, I have a question for you. You know, you said you started losing track when you were getting almost, you said about your ego sharing and getting all drawn into that. When did you start realising that that was taking you down a slippery slope?
Still Paul, I'm still a cocaine addict. Thanks for your question, Lisa. When I started to become, I was speaking in that many meetings and I was seeing people speaking in meetings that I hadn't spoke at. And I was like, well, why haven't I been asked to speak there? Why haven't I been asked to speak at that meeting? So what happened was I started to become reliant on these. I started to become reliant on speaking in meetings rather than relying on the power. That goes back to the ego reconstructing, because I don't want to take regular infantry, because I'm the face of CA at this point. I'm speaking in like 10, 15 meetings, so that's what my head believed. That delusion that I live with. And I start to pick up resentment then. What's the big book tell me? Resentment is the number one offender. But if I'm not practicing that 10th step that I talked about, then I'll start to become defective. In fact, when I'm not practicing that 10th step, I've disrespected that first step.
Hey Reco12 Spearheads, if our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Reco12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at reco12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Reco12 Spearhead.
That's what I'll be honest with you now, man. The last few meetings I've spoken, I don't want to do it. I do not want to do it. But the big book tells me what does it say? Something like along the lines of to be a maximum service to God and to my fellows. If I can share my experience of pretty much how my ego reconstructed and what not to do, and it helps save someone's life, then that's cool. But like I say, a guy with 28, I think he's 28 years, he was telling me, what have you got to be speaking in meeting about it right now? Why are you speaking in all these meetings? You're signing your own death warrant. I really do not like speaking in meetings no more, man. I do not want that ego to reconstruct. I do not want my head to start swelling thinking that I'm somebody that I'm not. I see where it's dangerous for people that have not been around here that long now to be speaking in so many meetings. Yeah, I get we're supposed to carry the message, but also I can see on the flip side of that how it can become detrimental through my own experience. Reliance on speaking in meetings became quite big in my life, and it was just my ego, my disease. And then when I did get in that bind, it says Tradition 5 says to carry the message to the still suffering addicts, but my mind gets to a point where the ego's reconstructed. I don't want to tell you just how bad I am, and how all this is affecting me, and how I'm not doing the things that I should be doing as a result of speaking in so many meetings. When you're seen around speaking in a lot of meetings, people think you're automatically all right. Doesn't mean I am. Time does not equal recovery. Time does not mean I'm okay. And speaking in all these meetings gives that perception, or I believe now it gives that perception to people that I'm doing all right, and that wasn't the case at certain points, man. Yeah, that's it, Lisa.
Thank you, Bob. You know what? I never looked at it like that. The fact that I could see about the ego, but I didn't ever think, oh, everyone, I think that I'm doing great. She's all right. I've never looked at that, so thank you. There's one last question we'll have. When you think about the new year, without resolutions or expectations, what does it look like for you if you simply rely on God and stay in the program?
That's Paul. I'm still cocaine addicts. We need to have words, man. I'm telling you now, MJ. I'm going to be completely honest with you right now, because that's who I am. Right now, as I sit here on this bed, on this meeting, doing this, I have no clue. I have no clue what the next week's going to do. I ain't been in a very good place the last couple of weeks, and I haven't been depending on the powers like I should have been doing. I've been an absolute arsehole. I've been an absolute arsehole the last couple of weeks. That said, if I continue to do what I have been doing prior to these last couple of weeks, then there's no reason I shouldn't be sat here this time next Christmas. That said, I don't know where my life is going to take me over the next 6 months. I have no clue. I have no clue where it's going to take me over the next 6 hours. That's just me being honest with you. The last 2-3 weeks, I have been up and down like a yo-yo. I'm not sure whether I believe it's my disease playing out, and I'm listening to that minion in my head, without a doubt. But I don't believe it is completely untreated alcoholism. I think there might be something that's gone on that I suffer from. The book tells me I might need outside help. The stuff that I'll be straight. The stuff that I haven't dealt with from a few years back, that I'm now bringing into this part of my life that needs addressing. And I understand that if I don't address it very, very quickly, there is a high possibility that it may possibly take me back out the door, because the minion that I live with inside of my head doesn't want me here. That's the truth. That is the bottom line, man. If I don't do something, or I don't address the things that are going on in my life, I'm going to be back out there smoking crack. And I don't know whether I'll get back this time. I don't, man. I opened my van door the one day and I looked at a rope in the back of there, and I thought, how good would it be to just take myself out? But I haven't got the bollocks to take myself out like that, so yeah, I will try and literally blow my heart up with drinking and using. So once this Christmas period's out of the way, I've got to start looking into that stuff. But as I don't know. That I don't know. I just know that there's external stuff that needs addressing that I haven't addressed, and I'm very, very aware of it, man. Thanks, MJ, for that question.
Thank you so much, Paul, for your honest, your honesty and your heartfelt share today, and your answering the questions. I really do admire you. So thanks again to everyone. And if you do have any questions what haven't come up in this hour, then please, you can send an email to reco12pod@gmail.com and join in our community. We're going to finally finish with Paul, who's going to lead us out on a prayer of his choice. Thank you, Paul.
Right. My name's Paul. I'm still a cocaine addict. Just give me 1 second. I'll just indulge me for 1 minute. I'm going to read this, and then I'll take us out of the prayer. So this can be found on Google. This can. It is a prayer. It's called Bruce's Prayer. Thank you, dear God, for another day, a chance to live in a decent way, to feel again the joy of living and happiness that comes from giving. Thank you for friends who can understand and the peace that flows from your loving hand. Help me to wake with the morning sun, with a prayer today, thy will be done. For with your help, I will find the way. Thank you again, dear God, for AA. And on that note, can we take a moment's silence for the still suffering addicts or alcoholic inside and outside of the rooms? Anybody that's about to take the first drink, the first sniff, the first pipe, the first needle, the first anything. And can we also take a moment's silence to remember the families, the children that are caught in the crossfire, please? God, thank you. Amen.